Hello, and thank you for your interest in the LanguageCert Academic qualification. In this introduction, we'll provide you with a few details about its key features, the skills covered, who the test is aimed at, what it aims to measure, as well as its different sections. LanguageCert Academic has been designed specifically for higher education admissions. It is a multi-level English test which spans levels B1 to C2 of the CEFA, the Common European Framework of Reference. For all of its tasks, there is enhanced academic content and focus. Results reporting is clear, meaningful, and user-friendly. LanguageCert Academic is built on a bed of underpinning research and validation and guarantees secure, reliable, and accessible test delivery. Please note that the LanguageCert Academic test is a computer-based test which candidates can take at one of our secure test centres or take online with live invigilation. As mentioned before, a LanguageCert Academic spans across 4 CEFA levels, levels B1, B2, C1 and C2. In the table hereby, you can see these 4 levels, but also the equivalent UK national levels. All 4 language skills, listening, reading, writing and speaking, are covered. Now let's focus on the main features of the LanguageCert Academic qualification. LanguageCert Academic has been designed for candidates seeking to study in higher education. It can be used primarily for entering higher education institutions running English medium courses. It can also be used in countries where English is not a first language, but the ability to speak, write and understand verbal and written general academic English is required. In terms of test content, it is tailored for academic study at undergraduate level, postgraduate level, as well as professional level. LanguageCert Academic measures a range of skills and competencies across levels B1 to C2, appropriate to academic study in an English medium setting, such as reading and listening for gist or detailed understanding of a range of written and audio sources, including academic articles, lectures, podcasts, interviews, discussions. Writing reports, articles and essays for an academic purpose, giving presentations, reading aloud, and taking part in a discussion. You can see here a few features related to all 4 language skills. We'll share more details in the videos that follow. As regards the listening component, it comprises 4 parts and 30 questions in total. Candidates are required to answer multiple choice questions and take notes. The duration of this first part of the test is approximately 40 minutes, and all parts are heard twice. The reading component consists of 4 parts, and candidates are asked to answer 30 questions in all. In terms of question types, candidates are required to answer multiple choice questions, gap-filling questions, and multiple matching questions. The duration of the reading section is 50 minutes. Switching to the writing section now, candidates need to do 2 tasks and produce 2 extended responses in 50 minutes. Finally, as far as the speaking component is concerned, it consists of 4 parts, and candidates are required to answer a few questions, take part in a role play, read a text aloud, and also give a presentation. All 4 parts of the speaking component last a total of 14 minutes. The listening component of the LanguageCert Academic test aims to assess the candidate's ability to identify meaning, purpose and function, and understand the speaker relationship to context. Understand meaning, intention, viewpoint, argumentation, and speaker relationship. Extract key information from a monologue. Synthesize and summarize ideas, as well as follow a discussion between 3 speakers. Let's now focus on each of the 4 listening parts. Part 1 presents candidates with 7 unfinished dialogues, each followed by one 3-option multiple-choice response. Candidates are required to choose the appropriate completion or continuation. This first part aims to assess the ability to identify meaning, purpose, and function, as well as understand speaker relationship to context. Part 2 consists of 5 short exchanges, each followed by 2 3-option multiple-choice questions. What is being assessed here is the ability to understand meaning, intention, viewpoint, argumentation, and speaker relationship. Now, in Part 3, candidates are presented with a monologue and a note, message pad, or form, and are asked to complete 7 gaps in it. Note that the answers should be short, no longer than 3 words each time. This third part assesses the ability to extract key information from a monologue, synthesize and summarize ideas. Regarding Part 4 now, candidates hear a discussion and are required to answer 6 3-option multiple-choice questions. This last part of the listening test aims to assess the ability to follow a discussion between 3 speakers. The reading component of the LanguageCert Academic test aims to assess the candidate's ability to understand vocabulary used in academic texts, identify synonyms, and use vocabulary in context, vocabulary and grammatical features in academic texts, how meaning is built up in longer texts, and show awareness of text organization. The purpose of different texts, as well as scan and locate specific information in them. Long, complex texts, including opinion, purpose argumentation, exemplification, comparison and contrast, cause and effect, and also locate specific information. Let's now focus on each of the 4 reading parts. Part 1A asks candidates to choose the correct word from a choice of 4 for each sentence. They need to replace the highlighted word with no change in meaning. This first part of the reading component aims to measure their ability to understand vocabulary used in academic texts, identify synonyms, and use vocabulary in context. In Part 1B, candidates are required to read a text and complete 5 gaps with the correct word from a choice of 3 for each gap. What is being assessed here is the ability to understand vocabulary and grammatical features in academic texts. Moving on to Part 2 now. Candidates are asked to read a text from which 6 sentences have been removed. A choice of 8 sentences has been provided to complete the 6 gaps in the text. This part assesses the ability to understand how meaning is built up in a longer text and show awareness of text organization. Part 3 consists of 4 texts on a common theme and requires candidates to answer 7 multiple matching questions to identify information from the texts. This part aims at assessing the ability to understand the purpose of different texts, scan and locate specific information. Lastly, Part 4 requires candidates to read a long text with academic argumentation, followed by 6 4-option multiple-choice questions. Here, what is being assessed is the ability to understand long, complex texts, including discourse, opinion, purpose argumentation, exemplification, comparison and contrast, cause and effect, and locate specific information. The writing component of the LanguageCert Academic test aims to assess the candidate's ability to respond appropriately to a given input to produce a formal response for an intended public audience, as well as produce a piece of argumentative writing on an academic subject. In more detail, Part 1 asks candidates to write a report, argument, or article using a written graphic or visual input with the intended reader specified, and express stance, opinion, justification, or argumentation. Candidates need to respond appropriately to a given input to produce a formal response. In terms of text length, they are required to write between 150 and 200 words. Part 2 requires candidates to write a formal piece of writing for a specified reader. Instructions may elicit functions such as compare and contrast, persuasion, hypothesis, evaluation, analysis, or presenting a solution. Candidates need to produce a piece of argumentative writing on an academic subject. This part requires them to produce a text of about 250 words. The speaking component of the LanguageCert Academic test aims to assess the candidate's ability to communicate opinions and ideas in a variety of topics and to give personal opinions on contemporary issues. Communicate in real-life higher education situations using a range of functional language and registers. Read aloud and answer questions. Prepare and deliver a presentation in response to a visual stimulus, and finally answer questions. Part 1, which lasts 2 to 3 minutes, starts off with a warm-up activity, and candidates are required to give and spell their name and give their country of origin. Then, candidates answer up to 5 questions on different topic areas. Please note that they should expect to be asked to communicate their opinions and ideas on a variety of topics and give personal opinions on contemporary issues. Part 2 lasts approximately 3 minutes, and candidates are required to take part in 2 or 3 role plays between them and the interlocutor. The situations are presented by the interlocutor, and candidates need to respond to and initiate interactions. Here, what is assessed is the ability to communicate in real-life higher education situations. Candidates are expected to use a range of functional language to elicit or respond as appropriate, to show their ability to use a wide range of language functions and use of register. Moving on to part 3 now, the duration of which is 4 minutes. Candidates need to read a given text out loud and answer several related questions. What is being assessed here is their fluency, pronunciation, stress and intonation, as well as their communicative interaction. Finally, part 4, which lasts 5 minutes, requires candidates to prepare and deliver a presentation in response to a given topic and answer related questions. They are given 1 minute of preparation time and asked to talk about the topic provided for 2 minutes. They then answer a few follow-up questions. If you're interested in the LanguageCert Academic qualification for your students, be informed that this qualification is directly calibrated to the CEFA, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, the LanguageCert IESOL, International ESOL examinations, the LTE, the LanguageCert Test of English, as well as the RQF, the Regulated Qualifications Framework, which accredits qualifications in England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and the CQFW, the Credit and Qualifications Framework for Wales, an inclusive meta-framework designed to provide greater clarity on the qualifications system in Wales. As regards the listening and reading components, they are both auto-marked, that is, computer-marked. As far as the writing and speaking tests are concerned, they are both marked by trained LanguageCert assessors. You can see in the table hereby how many marks candidates need to attain a certain level on the LanguageCert Global scale. Remember that this scale is out of 100. You can also see the 4 levels of performance that can be attained for each part of the test: B1, B2, C1, and C2. A few more details about the writing component now. As mentioned before, the writing part is marked by trained examiners who adhere to specific mark schemes for each task. Candidates are assessed against 4 criteria: task achievement, grammar, vocabulary, and organization. Regarding marking, candidates can collect up to 8 marks per criterion, resulting in a total of 32 marks per writing task. Once each writing task has been marked, an overall mark is awarded for the writing section, and grades are established by adding together scores on the 2 tasks. Task 1 is weighted to 40% of the total marks for writing, and Task 2 is weighted to 60% of the total marks for writing. Finally, results are provided as an overall score on the LanguageCert Global scale out of 100. Focusing on the speaking component, just like the other components of the LanguageCert Academic test, it is measured across 4 levels: B1, B2, C1, and C2. For all 4 parts of the speaking component, candidates are assessed against 5 criteria: task fulfillment and communicative effect, coherence, accuracy and range of grammar, accuracy and range of vocabulary, pronunciation, intonation, and fluency. Please note that each of the 4 parts of the speaking component is given equal importance and that candidates are awarded a mark from 0 to 8 for each of the 5 criteria. Still referring to the speaking component of the test, a few more details now about how candidates are marked. Candidate output is marked by 2 human examiners. One examiner who is the interlocutor and who marks candidates immediately after the speaking test. And the other examiner is the one who awards marks subsequently by accessing the recording. By the way, remember that all candidates are recorded on their speaking test day. The first criterion, task fulfillment and communicative effect, is marked by the interlocutor only while the second examiner or remote examiner marks the other 4 criteria. The interlocutor's general impression mark is double weighted, so the maximum raw marks that can be awarded is 48. Finally, raw marks are converted to a scaled score that corresponds to the CEFA levels, which stretch from B1 to C2. Finally, here you can see a sample test report, as well as a sample certificate, similar to what candidates soon receive after their test day. If you're interested in our LanguageCert Academic qualification for your students, make sure you take advantage of the material we have created for both teachers and candidates, readily downloadable. Simply visit our website, www.languagecert.org, where you can find, among other information sources, official practice papers, both printable and digital, preparation resources such as a computer-based test demo, writing sample answers with comments, preparation tips, and sample test videos. Test overview videos about the various components of the test, extra clarifications about marking and grading, as well as details about the support materials available. And finally, teaching resources such as the LanguageCert Academic Qualification Handbook, writing sample answers with comments, and lesson plans for the teacher. Naturally, do attend our regular live webinars specifically designed for teachers. They cover a variety of topics, all tailored towards our LanguageCert exams. On our website, you will also find pre-recorded webinars, one more opportunity for the teachers to gain insights into our exams. For any academic queries, you can contact us here, academicsupport@languagecert.org. Thank you and good luck to your students when the time comes.